Lord Chaitanya cannot blindly accept that everyone born in a Brahman family is a Brahmana. Therefore, one should not indiscriminately follow the Lord's example of showing respect to Brahmanas by drinking water that has washed their feet. Gradually, the Brahman families have become degraded because of the contamination of Kali Yuga. Thus, they misguide people by exploiting their sentiments. Sachi ke prema dana तबेद अद्वैत मिलन अद्वैत paila Vishwarupa darshana. Thereafter, the Lord delivered love of Krishna to his mother Shachi Devi, nullifying her offense at the feet of Advaitacharya. Thus, there was a meeting with Advaitacharya, who later had a vision of the Lord's universal form. Purport: one day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting on the throne of Vishnu in the house of Srivas Prabhu, and in a mood of his own, he said, "My mother has offended the lotus feet of Advaitacharya. Unless she nullifies this offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, it will not be possible for her to achieve love of Krishna." Hearing this, all the devotees went to bring Advaitacharya there. While coming to see the Lord, Advaitacharya was glorifying the characteristics of Mother Shachi Devi, and thus upon arriving, he fell down on the ground in ecstasy. Then, under the instruction of Lord Chaitanya, Shachi Devi took advantage of this situation to touch Advaitacharya's lotus feet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very much pleased by his mother's action, and he said, "Now my mother's offense at the lotus feet of Advaitacharya has been rectified, and she may have love of Krishna without difficulty." By this example, Lord Chaitanya taught everyone that although one may be very much advanced in Krishna consciousness, if one offends the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, his advancement will not bear fruit. We should therefore be very cautious not to offend a Vaishnava. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has described such an offense as follows. Yadi Vaishnava aparadha uthe hati mata upadeva chinde tara sukhi yaya pata. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 19.156. As a mad elephant may trample all the plants in a garden, so by committing one offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, one may spoil all the devotional service he has accumulated in his life. After this incident, one day Advaitacharya Prabhu requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to display the universal form he had very kindly shown Arjuna. Lord Chaitanya agreed to this proposal, and Advaita Prabhu was fortunate enough to see the universal form of Lord. Text 11. Prabhura abhishek tabe karila Shrivas khate vasi Prabhu kaila Aishwarya prakasha. Srivas Thakur then worshipped the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by the process of Abhishek. Sitting on a coat, the Lord exhibited transcendental appearance. Purport: Abhishek is a special function for the installation of the deity. In this ceremony, the deity is bathed with milk and water and then worshipped and given a change of dress. This Abhishek function was especially observed at the house of Srivasa. All the devotees, according to their means, worshipped the Lord with all kinds of paraphernalia, and the Lord gave benedictions to each devotee according to his desire. Tabe Nityananda Swarupera Agamana Prabhu ke miliya Paila Sada Bhujash Darshana. After this function at the house of Srivas Thakur, Nityanand Prabhu appeared. And when he met with Lord Chaitanya, he got the opportunity to see him in his six-armed form. Purport: the form of Sadbhuja, the six-armed Lord Gaurasundar, is a representation of three incarnations. The form of Sri Ramchandra is symbolized by a bow in one hand and an arrow in other. The form of Lord Sri Krishna is symbolized by a stick and a flute like those generally held by a cowherd boy. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is symbolized by a sannyasa danda and a kamandalo or water pot. Srila Nityanand Prabhu was born in the village of Ekachakra in the district of Barbhum as the son of Padmavati and Hadai Pandit. In his childhood, he played like a Balaram. When he was growing up, a sannyasi came to the house of Hadai Pandit and begged to have the Pandita's son as his brahmachari assistant. Hadai Pandit immediately agreed and delivered his son to him, although the separation was greatly shocking, so much so that Hadai lost his life after the separation. Nityanand Prabhu traveled on many pilgrims with the sannyasi. It is said that for many days he lived at Mathura with him, and at that time he had heard about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes in Navadvip. Therefore, he came down to Bengal to see the Lord. When Lord Nityananda came to Navadvipa, he was a guest at the house of Nandana Acharya. Understanding that Nityanand Prabhu had arrived, Lord sent his devotees to him, and thus there was a meeting between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Prabhu. Text 13. प्रथमे सदभुजा तनरे देखैला ईश्वर शंख चक्र गदा पद्म sarang venudhara. One day Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited to Lord Nityanand Prabhu a six-armed form bearing a council disc, club, lotus flower bow and flute. Thereafter the Lord showed him his four-armed form standing in a three-curved posture. With two hands he played upon a flute, and in the other two he carried a council and disc. Tabetadvipuja kevala vamshi vadana shyama anga pita vastra prachendra nandana. Finally, the Lord showed Nityanand Prabhu his two-armed form of Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, simply playing on his flute, his bluish body dressed in yellow garments. Purport: Sri Chaitanya Mangal vividly elaborates upon this description. 16. Tabe Nityananda Gosanira Vyasat Pujana Nityananda Vese Kaila Mushala Dharana. Nityanand Prabhu then arranged to offer Vyas Puja or worship of the spiritual master to Lord Sri Gaurasundara. But Lord Chaitanya carried the claw-like weapon called Mushala in the ecstasy of being Nityanand Prabhu. But by the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityanand Prabhu arranged for the Vyas Puja of the Lord on the night of the full moon. He arranged for the Vyas Puja or Guru Puja through the agency of Vyasdeva. Since Vyasdeva is the original Guru, spiritual master of all who follow the Vedic principles, worship of spiritual master is called Vyas Puja. Nityanand Prabhu arranged for the Vyas Puja and Sankirtan was going on, but when he tried to put a garland on the shoulder of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he saw himself in Lord Chaitanya. Oh wow. There is no difference between the spiritual positions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Prabhu, or Krishna and Balram. All of them are but different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. During this special ceremony, all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that there is no difference between Lord Chaitanya and Nityanand Prabhu. text 17. तबे सची देखिला राम कृष्ण दुई भाई तबे निस्तारेला प्रभु जगाई मधाई. Thereafter, Mother Sachi Devi saw the brothers Krishna and Balram in their manifestation of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Then the Lord delivered the two brothers Jagai and Madai. Purport. One night Sachi Devi dreamt that the deities in her house, Krishna and Balram, had taken the forms of Chaitanya and Nityananda and were fighting one another as children do to eat the Naivedya or offering to the deities. The next day, by the will of Lord Chaitanya, Sachi Devi invited Nityananda to take prasadam at her house. Thus, Vishwambara, Lord Chaitanya, and Nityananda were eating together, and Sachi Devi realized that they were none other than Krishna and Balram. Seeing this, she fainted. Jagai and Madai were two brothers born in Navadvipa in a respectable Brahman family, who later become addicted to all kinds of sinful activities. By the order of Lord Chaitanya, both Nityanand Prabhu and Haridas Thakur used to preach the cult of Krishna consciousness door to door. In the course of such preaching, they found Jagai and Madai, two maddened drunken brothers, who upon seeing them began to chase them. On the next day, Madai struck Nityananda Prabhu on the head with a piece of earthen pot, thus drawing blood. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard of this, he immediately came to the spot, ready to punish both brothers. But when the all-merciful Lord Gauranga saw Jagai's repentant behavior, he immediately embraced him. By seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face and embracing him, both the sinful brothers were at once cleansed. Thus they received initiation into the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra from the Lord and were delivered. Text 18. Tabe sapta prahara chaila chila prabhu bhava veshe yatha tatha bhakta gana dekhila visheshe. After this incident, the Lord remained in an ecstatic position for 21 hours, and all the devotees saw his specific pastimes. In the deity's room, there must be a bed for the deity behind his throne. This system should immediately be introduced in all our centers. It does not matter whether the bed is big or small. It should be of a size the deity room can conveniently accommodate. But there must be at least a small bed. One day in the house of Srivas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down on the bed of Vishnu, and all the devotees worshipped him with the Vedic mantras of the Purusha Sukta, beginning with Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasra Kashaha Sahasra Sahasrapat. This Veda Stuti should also be introduced, if possible, for installation of deities. While bathing the deity, all the priests and devotees must chant this Purusha Sukta and offer the appropriate paraphernalia for worshipping the deity, such as flowers, fruits, incense, arti, paraphernalia, Naivedya, Vastra, and ornaments. All the devotees worship Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this way, and the Lord remained in ecstasy for 7 prahars or 21 hours. He took this opportunity to show the devotees that he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the source of all other incarnations, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8. Ham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. All the different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or Vishnu Tattva emanate from the body of Lord Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exposed all the private desires of the devotees. And thus all of them became fully confident that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some devotees call this exhibition of ecstasy by the Lord's Sat Prahariya Bhava, or the ecstasy of 21 hours, and others call it Mahabhav Prakasha or Mahaprakasha. There is a description of this Sapta Prahariya Bhav in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Khanda, chapter 9, which mentions that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed a maid servant named Dhuki with the name of Sukhi. He called for Kolavecha Sridhar and showed him his Mahaprakash. Then he called for Murari Gupta and showed him his feature as Lord Ramchandra. He offered his blessings to Haridas Thakur, and at this time he also asked Advaita Prabhu to explain the Bhagavad Gita as it is, Gita Satya Patha, and showed special favor to Mukunda. Prabhu, should I start?
Mataji, you started from 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe some others can read, Mataji. So if you would like to share anything.
Yeah, so this is the pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in youth. So whatever we saw that in youth, when he entered in youth, he already decorated with the ornaments and dressed very, very nice, dressed with fine clothes and garland himself, flowers, everything. And then we just read about the one time he just started to go to Gaya, and he just met Ishwar Puri. And when he was going to Gaya, in the middle of the way, he got a fever. So, and then he just told all disciples, students, whoever they went with him. So he told him to just get the water, whatever washed by the feet of Brahmanas. So by this incident, I can say how he was respected the Brahmanas. But after that, and he just recovered. But after that, also it says that we shouldn't imitate whatever Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, because in this Kali Yuga, all Brahmanas are contaminated. They are not like a pious or nothing. And they just do these Kali Yuga Brahman, they always misguide the people by exploiting their sentiments. So we should not do, we should use our intelligence, who is the true Brahman. So, and then it says about the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he just delivered her love of Krishna to his mother, because he was thinking when Shachi Mata once told that about Advaita Acharya, that he just took my son Vishwarup, because of him my Vishwarup, he just left the house. So she did that offense, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt that offense. So here he just do the delivered her mother by giving, when the Advaita Acharya's house, Srivas house, Srivas Thakur's house, they called the Advaita Acharya, and Advaita Acharya was seeing the Prabhu. Then he fell down the ground and in ecstasy. And at that time, the same situation, and then the Shachimata took the dust of his lotus feet on her head, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees that, and then he just so happy, and he just say, "Oh, now you can get the Krishna Prem." And then, so after that, he showed the 6 amp form. So Advaita Acharya is also got benefited to see the Lord's 6 amp forms, because when Nityanand Prabhu came and appear there, and then he got this, saw the form, and then it describes about how the six are, two for Krishna, two for Rama Chandra Bhagwan, and two Kamandalu with Kamandalu, with Kamandalu and the stick, the, yeah, like that. So for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so that's the way six hands form he showed. So he was very benefited to see he got that thing. And then it says about Sachi Mata see in her dream Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Prabhu as a Sri Krishna and Sri Balram. Nothing. So that's one I understood like that, and
Nice points.
and then Prabhu got like Pela Bhav, Mahaprakash Bhav he got, and everyone got benefited to see his Mahabhav as Srivas Thakur's house. And then I remember one thing that when he calls everyone, but he didn't call the, I think Mukundat or Murari Gupta, I think, yeah. So, and then he said, I think Murari Gupta, na Mukundat so far. And then he said that somebody told that, Prabhu, why don't you call him? So Prabhu said, no, after so many Janma birth, he will. So at that time, Kundatta, I think he just started to dance, and then Mahaprabhu saw him that why you are dancing, and they told like that. So he said, okay, one day Prabhu will give me, embrace me. So right away he just embraced. I remember that past time, Prabhuji. And here he showed the Murari Gupta is a Ramchandra, because Murari Gupta was believing Sri Ramchandra. He was worshipping Ramchandra. So he showed him the Ramchandra form like that. And so
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Nice summary. So, Sadhya Mataji, you raised your hand. Would like to read?
Hare Krishna. Mataji can remember everything.
Yeah. She remembered one thing.
Okay.
Text 19,
So, text
Mataji.
19. No, text 19, yeah. One day Sri Chaitanya, okay, let me see. Varaha Avesha Haila Murari Bhavane 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 Tandra Skandek Jadi Prabhu Nachila Angane. One day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt the ecstasy of the boar incarnation and got upon the shoulders of Murari Gupta. Thus they both danced in Murari Gupta's courtyard. One day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to cry out, Sukara, Sukara. And thus crying out for the boar incarnation of the Lord. He assumed his form as the boar incarnation and got upon the shoulders of Murari Gupta. He carried a small gadu, a small water pot with a nozzle, and thus he symbolically picked up the earth from the depths of the ocean, for this is the pastime of Lord Varaha. And then Tabe Shuklambarera Kaila Tandula Bhakshana Harer Nama Slokera Kaila Artha Vivarana. That is, after this incident, the Lord ate raw rice given by Shuklamara Brahmachari and explained very elaborately the import of the Harer Nama Shloka mentioned in the Brihadaranyaka Purana. Purport. Shuklamara Brahmachari resided in Navadvipa on the bank of the Ganges. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in ecstasy, he approached the Lord with a begging bag containing rice. The Lord was so pleased with his devotee that he immediately snatched the bag and began to eat the raw rice. No one forbade him, and thus he finished the entire supply of rice. Then Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Eva Kevalam. Kalau Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Getiranyatha. In this age of Kali, there is no other means for self-realization than chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name of Lord Hari. Then Kali Gale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatara Nama Haite Haya Sarva Jagat Nistara. In this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. Hare Krishna. And so, Datyad lagi Hare Nama Mukti Tina Vara Jada Loka Bhujaite Puna Evakara. This verse repeats the word Eva certainly 3 times for emphasis, and it also 3 times repeats Hare Nama, the holy name of the Lord, just to make common people understand. To emphasize something to an ordinary person, one may repeat it 3 times, just as one might say, you must do this, you must do this, you must do this. Thus, the Brihadaranyaka Purana repeatedly emphasizes the chanting of the holy name so that people may take it seriously and thus free themselves from the clutches of Maya. It is our practical experience in Krishna consciousness movement all over the world that many millions of people are actually coming to the spiritual stage of life simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra regularly, according to the prescribed principles. Therefore, our request to all our students is that they daily chant at least 16 rounds of this Hare Nama Mahamantra, often zealously, following the regulatory principles. Thus, their success will be assured without a doubt. Now, Kevala Shabde Punarapi Nisaya Karana Jnana Yoga Tapa Karma Adi Nivarana. The use of the word Kevala only prohibits all other processes such as the cultivation of knowledge, practice of mystic yoga, or performance of austerities and fruitive activities. Our Krishna consciousness movement stresses the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra only, whereas those who do not know the secret of success for this age of Kali unnecessarily indulge in the cultivation of knowledge, the practice of mystic yoga, or the performance of fruitive activities or useless austerities. They are simply wasting their time and misleading their followers. When we point this out very plainly to an audience, members of opposing groups become angry at us. But according to the injunctions of the Shastras, we cannot make compromises with these so-called jnanis, yogis, karmis, and tapasvis. When they say they are as good as we are, we must say that only we are good and that they are not good. This is not our obstinacy. It is the injunction of the Shastras. We must not deviate from the injunctions of the Shastras. This is confirmed in the next verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Anyatha ye mane tara nahi ka nistara nahi yetina evakara. This verse clearly states that anyone who accepts any other path cannot be delivered. This is a reason for the triple repetition, nothing else, which emphasizes the real process of self-realization. Trana haide nija hana sadalebe nama apani nirabhimani anyadipemanam. To chant the holy name always, one should be humbler than the grass in the street and devoid of all desire for personal honor, but one should offer others all respectful obeisances. Then Taru Sama Sahishnota Vaishnava Karibe Vatsana Tadane Kake Kichuna Balibe. A devotee engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord should practice forbearance like that of a tree. Even if rebuked or chastised, he should not say anything to others or to retaliate. Then Katileha Taruyana Kichuna Bolaya Sukaya Mare Tabu Jalana Magaya. For even if one cuts a tree, it never protests. And even if it is drying up and dying, it does not ask anyone for water. This practice of forbearance, Taroriva Saishnuna, is very difficult. But when one actually engages in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the quality of forbearance automatically develops. A person advanced in spiritual consciousness through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra need not practice to develop it separately. For a devotee develops all good qualities simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra regularly. Ye mata Vaishnava kare kichu na magiba ayachita vritti kimba saga pala kaiba. Thus, a Vaishnava should not ask anything from anyone else. If someone gives him something without being asked, he should accept it. But if nothing comes, a Vaishnava should be satisfied to eat whatever vegetables and fruits are easily available. So, Sada Nama Laiva Yatha Lapete Sandosha Aita Eta Acharya Kare Bhakti Dharma Posha. One should strictly follow the principle of always chanting the holy name, and one should be satisfied with whatever he gets easily. Such a devotional behavior solidly maintains one's devotional service. Tanadavishinichena Taroriva Sashnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor yet he is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. The grass is specifically mentioned in this verse because everyone tramples upon it, yet the grass never protests. This example indicates that a spiritual master or leader should not be proud of his position. Being always humbler than an ordinary common man, he should go on preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Urtha Bahu Kari Kahan Shuna Sarvaloka Nama Sutre Ganti Para Kante Sloka. Raising my hands, I declare, everyone please hear me. String this verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it on your neck for continuous remembrance. Purport. When chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, in the beginning one may commit many offenses, which are called Nama Bhasa and Nama Aparatha. In this stage, there is no possibility of achieving perfect love of Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Therefore, one must chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra according to the principles of the above verse. Tranad Vishunichena Taror Vasaishnuna. One should note in this connection that chanting involves the activities of the upper and lower lips as well as the tongue. All three must be engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The words Hare Krishna should be very distinctly pronounced and heard. Sometimes one mechanically produces a hissing sound instead of chanting with the proper pronunciation with the help of the lips and tongue. Chanting is very simple, but one must practice it seriously. Therefore, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, advises everyone to keep this verse always strung about his neck. Prabhu Ajnaya Karaya Sloka Charana Avashya Paibe Tabe Sri Krishna Charana. One must strictly follow the principles given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this verse. If one simply follows in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya and the Goswamis, certainly he will achieve the ultimate goal of life, the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Tabe Prabhu Sri Vasera Grahe Nirandhara Yatre Sankirtana Kaila Eka Samvatsara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regularly led congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the house of Srivas Thakura every night for 1 full year. Then Kapata Diya Kirtana Kare Parama Veshe Pashandi Hasite Aise Napaya Praveshe. This ecstatic chanting was performed with the doors closed so that the non-believers who came to make fun could not gain entrance. Chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is open to everyone, but sometimes non-believers come to disturb the ceremony of chanting. It is indicated herein that under such circumstances, the temple doors should be closed. Only bona fide chanters should be admitted. Others should not. But when there is large-scale congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we keep our temples open for everyone to join. And by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this policy has given good results. Then Kirtana Suni Bahire Tara Jwali Pudi Pare Srivasara Dukha Dite Nana Yukti Kare. Thus the non-believers almost burned to ashes and died out of envy. To retaliate, they planned various ways to give trouble to Srivas Thakura. Yekadina Vipranama Gopala Chapala Pashanti Prathana Sai Durmukha Vachala Bhavani Pujara Sabha Samagri Lana Ratre Srivasare Dware Sthana Lepanam. One night while Kirtana was going on inside Srivas Thakur's house, a Brahmana named Gopala Chapala, the chief of the non-believers, who was talkative and very rough in his speech, placed all the paraphernalia for worshipping the goddess Durga outside Srivas Thakur's door. This Brahmana, Gopala Chapala, wanted to defame Srivas Thakura by proving that he was actually a Shakta or a worshipper of Bhavani, the goddess Durga, but was externally posing as a Vaishnava. In Bengal, there is perpetual competition between the devotees of goddess Kali and the devotees of Lord Krishna. Generally, Bengalis, especially those who are meat eaters and drunkards, are very much attached to worshipping the goddess Durga, Kali, Sitala and Chandi. Such devotees who are known as Shaktas or worshippers of the Shakti Tattva are always envious of Vaishnavas. Since Srivas Thakur was a well-known and respected Vaishnava in Navadvipa, Gopal Chapala wanted to reduce his prestige by bringing him down to the platform of the Shaktas. Therefore, outside Srivas Thakur's door, he placed various paraphernalia for worshipping Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, such as a red flower, a plantain leaf, a pot of wine, and reddish sandalwood paste. In the morning, when Srivas Thakur saw all this paraphernalia in front of his door, he called for the respectable gentlemen of the neighborhood and showed them that at night he was worshipping Bhavani. Very sorry, these gentlemen called for a sweeper to cleanse the place and purify it by sprinkling water and cow dung there. This incident concerning Gopala Chapala is not mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavata. Kalera Pada Upare Tuila Oda Pula Haridra Sindura Ara Rekta Chandana Tandula. On the upper portion of a plantain leaf, he placed such paraphernalia for worshippers: Oda Pula, turmeric, vermilion, red sandalwood, and rice. Madhya Bhanda Pashe Dhari Nija Kare Jala Pratah Kale Srivasa Taha Da Lekila. He placed a pot of wine beside all this, and in the morning when Srivas Thakur opened his door, he saw this paraphernalia. Bada Bada Loka Sabha Anila Boleya Sabare Kahe Srivasa Hasiya Hasiya. Srivas Thakur called for all respectable gentlemen of the neighborhood and smilingly addressed them as follows. Nityaratra Karyami Bhavani Pujana Amara Mahima Dekha Brahmana Sajjana. Gentlemen, every night I worship the goddess Bhavani. Since the paraphernalia for the worship is present here, now all you respectable Brahmanas and members of the higher caste can understand my position. According to the Vedic system, there are 4 castes: the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, and Shudras, and below them are the Panchamas, literally members of the 5th group, who are lower than the Shudras. The higher castes, the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, and even the Vaisyas, were known as Brahmana Sajjana. The Brahmanas especially were known as Sajjana, or respectable gentlemen who guided the entire society. If there were disputes in the village, people would approach these respectable Brahmanas to settle them. Now it is very difficult to find such Brahmanas and Sajjanas, and thus every village and town is so disrupted that there is no peace and happiness anywhere. To revive a fully cultured civilization, the scientific division of society into Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, and Shudras must be introduced all over the world. Unless some people are trained as Brahmanas, there cannot be peace in human society. Tabe sabasit shishta loka kare hahakara aiche karma heta hakaila kondurachara. Then all the assembled gentlemen exclaimed, "What is this? What is this? Who has performed such mischievous activities? Who is that sinful man?" And then Hadike Aniya Sabadura Karela Jala Gomaya Diya Sai Sthana Lepaila. They called for a sweeper, Hadi, who threw all the items of worship far away and cleansed the place by mopping it with mixture of water and cow dung. So the men in Vedic society who engage in public sanitary activities like picking up stool and sweeping the street are called Hadis. Sometimes they are untouchable, especially when engaged in their profession. Yet such Hadis also have the right to become devotees. This is established by Sri Bhagavad Gita 9:32, where the Lord declares, Mam hi partha vipasritya epi syushopapayonaya striyam vaisyastadha shudryastepi yanti param gitim. O son of Pratha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaisyas, that is merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. There are many untouchables of the lower caste in India, but according to Vaishnava principles, everyone is welcome to accept this Krishna consciousness movement on the spiritual platform of life and thus be freed from trouble. Neither equality nor fraternity is possible on the material platform. When Lord Chaitanya declares Tranada Vishunichena Taroriva Sahishnuna, he indicates that one must be above the material conception of life. When one thoroughly understands that he is not the material body, but a spirit soul, he is even humbler than a man of the lower caste, for he is spiritually elevated. Such humility, in which one thinks himself lower than the grass, is called Sunichatva. Sunichatva. And being more tolerant than a tree is called Sahishnutva, forbearance. Being situated in devotional service, not caring for the material conception of life, is called Amanitva. Indifference to material respect. Yet a devotee thus situated is called Manada, for he is prepared to give honor to others without hesitation. Mahatma Gandhi shared the Harijana movement to purify the untouchables. But he was a failure because he thought that one could become a Harijana, a personal associate of the Lord, through some kind of material adjustment. That is not possible. Unless one fully realizes that he is not the body but is a spiritual soul, there is no question of his becoming a Harijana. Those who do not follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciplic succession cannot distinguish between matter and spirit, and therefore all their ideas are but a mixed up hodgepodge of problems. They are virtually lost in the bewildering network of Maya Devi. Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I'll
Yes,
stop
Prabhu.
here.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes,
So
Mataji.
here, so to say a few words at the end. So first we started with the Lord playing the Varaha incarnation by he got on the shoulders of Murari Gupta and showed that a small water pot like earth being held above on his tusk like that. He performed that pastime, and then Shukalambre Brahmachari. He was a very poor person, but he had this bag of rice on his shoulders, like he might have got it through begging or something. Anyway, he approached the Lord and gave him some rice, and the Lord was so pleased with him, he ate the whole bag of rice. And then the rest is all about how Lord propagated the Hare Nama, that is Brahanaradiya Purana, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. So then the whole thing is interpreted nicely. I mean, because it says 3 times, Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Getiranyatha, it means that only chanting the holy name of the Lord is the means in this age of Kali. We should not simply follow other things like Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda, etc. in this age of Kali. It's strictly chanting for which is the means for this age of Kali, and it should be done with in a very serious and disciplined way, following the regulatory principles. And then of course it is very important one follows the Tranada Vishunichena Taroriva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. That is, one should practice extreme humility and tolerance, forbearance, and it has been explained in great detail, and should be ready to give respect to all others. And then where did we end? We end with the Lord performed Sankirtana in the house of Srivas Thakur for 1 year continuously, and then others were jealous and envious because only serious chanters, bona fide chanters were allowed to come in, join that kirtan. So others were jealous and tried to paint Srivas Thakur as a worshipper of the goddess Kali, and the Gopala Chapala, how he tried to try to do this by putting all this Kali Puja things, paraphernalia in front of his house, and anyway, all the respectable people know that Srivas Thakur is a great Vaishnava, and they had it all cleaned up and purified at that place in front of his house. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. This was a very
Thank you.
wonderful section because it's the heart of Mahaprabhu's teachings. Thank you very
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Mm.
Anyone else would like to read her? Okay, then I will read. So text 45. Dina dina rahi se gopala chapala sarvange haila kushta vahe rakta dhara. After 3 days, leprosy attacked Gopala Chapala and blood oozed from the sores all over his body. Sarvanga bedila kite kati nirantara ashaya vedana tukhe jwalaye antara. Incessantly covered with the germs and insects biting him all over his body, Gopala Chapala felt unbearable pain. His entire body burned in distress. Text 47. Ganga gate vriksha tale rahita vashiya ekadhina bale kichu prabhu ke dekhiya. Since leprosy is an infectious disease, Gopala Chapala left the village to sit down on the bank of the Ganges underneath a tree. One day, however, he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passing by and spoke to him as follows. Grama sambandhe ami tomara matula bhagina muhi kushta vyadhite hanachi vyakula. My dear nephew, I am your maternal uncle in our village relationship. Please see how greatly this attack of leprosy has afflicted me. Lokasabha उदारिते तुम्हारा अवतारा मुनि बड़ा दुखी मोरे कराहा udara. As an incarnation of God, you are delivering so many fallen souls. I am also a greatly unhappy fallen soul. Kindly deliver me by your mercy. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It appears that although Gopala Chapala was sinful, talkative, and insulting, he nevertheless had the qualification of simplicity. Thus, he believed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who had come to deliver all fallen souls. And he appealed for his own deliverance, seeking the mercy of the Lord. He did not know, however, that the deliverance of the fallen does not consist of the curing their bodily diseases. Although it is also a fact that when a man is delivered from the material clutches, his material bodily diseases are also automatically cured. Gopala Chapala simply wanted to be delivered from the bodily sufferings of leprosy, but Sri Chaitanya, although accepting his sincere appeal, wanted to inform him of the real cause of suffering. Text 50. Yeta suni Mahaprabhura haila kruddha mana krodhaveshe bhale tarjana vachana. Hearing this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared greatly angry, and in that angry mood he spoke some words chastising him. Are papi bhakta dveshi torena udarimu koti janma he mate kedaya kahyo emu. O sinful person, envious of pure devotees, I shall not deliver you, rather I shall have you bitten by these germs for many millions of years. Purport: we should note herein that all our sufferings in this material world, especially from disease, are due to our past sinful activities. And all of sinful activities, actions directed against a pure devotee out of sheer envy are considered extremely severe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Gopala Chapala to understand the cause of his suffering. Any person who disturbs a pure devotee engaged in broadcasting the holy name of the Lord is certainly punished like Gopala Chapala. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As we shall see, one would offense a pure devotee can never satisfy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu unless and until he sincerely regrets his offense and thus rectifies it. Text 52. Srivase Karaili Tuhi Bhavani Pujana Koti Janma Habe Tora Raure Patana. You have made Srivas Thakur appear to have been worshipping the goddess Bhavani. Simply for this offense, you will have to fall down into hellish life for 10 million births. Purport. There are many tantric followers who, wishing to eat meat and drink wine, practice the black heart of worshipping the goddess Bhavani in a crematorium. Such fools also consider this Bhavani puja to be as good as the worship of Lord Krishna in the devotional service. But such abominable tantric activities performed by the so-called Swamis and Yogis are herein condemned by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He declares that such Bhavani puja for drinking wine and eating meat quickly plunges one into hellish life. The method of worship itself is already hellish, and its results must also be hellish and nothing more. Many rascals say that whatever way one accepts, one will ultimately reach Brahman. Yet, we can see from this verse how such persons reach Brahman. Brahman spreads everywhere, but appreciation of Brahman in different objects leads to different results. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.11, the Lord says, "E yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham." I reward everyone according to his surrender unto me. Mayavadis certainly realize Brahman in certain aspects, but realization of Brahman in the aspects of wine, woman, and meat is not the same realization of Brahman that devotees achieve by chanting, dancing, and eating prasadam. Mayavadi philosophers, being educated in paltry knowledge, think all sorts of Brahman realization one and the same and do not consider varieties. But although Krishna is everywhere, but his inconceivable potency is simultaneously not everywhere. Thus, the Brahman realization of the Tantric cult is not the same Brahman realization as that of a pure devotees. Unless one reaches the highest point of Brahman realization, Krishna consciousness, he is punishable. All people except Krishna conscious devotees are to some proportion pashandis or demons, and thus they are punishable by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, as stated below. Pashandi Pashandi Samharte Mora He Avatara Pashandi Samhari Bhakti Karimu Prachara. I have appeared in this incarnation to kill the demons, Pashandis, and after killing them, to preach the cult of devotional service. Lord Chaitanya's mission is the same as that of Lord Krishna, which he states in the Bhagavad Gita 4.7.8. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya sadushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself, in order to deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion. I advent myself millennium after millennium. As explained here, the real purpose of an incarnation of Godhead is to kill the atheists and to maintain the devotees. He does not say, like so many rascal incarnations, that atheists and non-devotees are on the same platform. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Krishna, the real personality of Godhead, does not advocate such an idea. Atheists are the punishable, whereas the devotees are to be protected. To maintain this principle is the mission of all avatars or incarnations. One must therefore identify an incarnation by his activities, not by popular votes or by mental concoctions. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave protection to the devotees and killed many demons in the course of his preaching work. He specifically mentioned that the Mayavadi philosophers are the great demons. Therefore, he warned all others not to hear the Mayavada philosophy. Mayavadi Bhashya Sunile Haya Sarvanasha. Simply by hearing the Mayavadi interpretation of the Shastras, one is doomed. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalela 6.169. Text 54. Eta bali gela prabhu karite ganga snana sehi papi dukha bhoge nahaya parana. After saying this, the Lord left to take his bath in the Ganges, and that sinful man did not give up his life, but continued to suffer. After saying this, the Lord left to take his bath in the Ganges, and that sinful man did not give up his life but continued to suffer. Purport: it appears that an offender to a Vaishnava continues to suffer and does not give up his life. We have actually seen that a great Vaishnava, Aparadi, continuously suffered so much that it was difficult for him to move, and yet he did not die. Text 55-56. संन्यास करिय हबे प्रभु नीला चले गेला तथा हैते हबे कुलिय ग्रामे हाइला तबे से ही पापी प्रभुरा लाइला शरणा हिता उपदेश कैला आहिया करुणा. When Sri Chaitanya, after accepting the renounced order of life, went to Jagannath Puri and then came back to the village of Kuliya, upon his return, that sinful man took shelter at the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord, being merciful to him, gave him the instructions for his benefit. Purport: Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura in his Anubhashya had given the following note in connection with the village Kuliya. The village, originally known as Kuliya, has developed into what is now the city of Navadvipa. In various authorized books like Bhakti Ratnakara, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya, Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka, and Chaitanya Bhagavata, it is mentioned that the village of Kuliya is on the western side of the Ganges. Even now, within the area known as Koladvipa, there is a place known as Kuliyara Ganga, or a place called Kuliyara Daha, both within the jurisdiction of the present municipality of Navadvipa. In the time of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two villages on the western side of the Ganges named Kuliya and Pahadapura both belong to the jurisdiction of Bahiradvipa. At that time, the place on the eastern side of the Ganges, now known as Antardvipa, was known as Navadvipa. At that time, the place on the eastern side of the Ganges, now known as Antardvipa, was known as Navadvipa. At Sri Mayapur, that place is still known as Dvipera Matha. There is another place of the name Kuliya near Kanchadapada, but it is not the same Kuliya mentioned here. It cannot be accepted as Aparada Banjanera Pata, or the place where the offense was excused. For that occurred in the above mentioned Kuliya on the western side of the Ganges. For business reasons, so many envious persons oppose excavation of the real place, and sometimes they advertise unauthorized places as the authorized one. Okay, Rachna Mataji, you want to read? Okay, you can read. I will, quickly in this section, for the offense Gopal Chapala did to Srivas Thakur by putting those, Bhavani worshipable items right in front of his door. So he got leprosy, and he was staying outside the village. Fortunately, he saw one day Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was kind of asking him to deliver right from his disease. So, he has simple mind, simplicity. Prabhupada is saying that because he was able to at least recognize Lord as, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Lord. So, he was asking him to deliver him. But then, real reason, he was asking to deliver from his material suffering. But actually, it was, but if he's, because then if one delivers from the, by the Lord, the ultimate deliverance, spiritual one, so automatically the bodily problems will automatically gone. But I think he doesn't understand that. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gets very angry, and he gives the reason why he was suffering, right? Because of the offense that he committed at the lotus feet of Srivas Thakur, right? Then after that, the Brahman realization, that was, people will realize different things, but then the Mayavadis Prabhupada is comparing. I'm just trying to recollect the thing why he got that point there. But anyway, so people may understand the Lord is there everywhere, and then because if one understands the Lord's potencies in particular thing, so he will get only that one, right? So he will not get the ultimate thing. So that was the problem for the people. I mean, because that is the reason it is not same. Though Brahman is there everywhere, it is not the same kind of realization. Whatever one is able to perceive or one is able to aspire for it, they will get that only. Right? So they will not get the ultimate thing. So that was very nice thing. So finally, he was able to, meet Lord Chaitanya again, ask for forgiveness. I think this section is continuing. Right? So, you want to read, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Let me know when to stop, Prabhu.
Yeah, you can start from 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Mataji.
Yeah, text 57 to 58. Srivasa Panditera Sthane Ache Aparada Tata Tatha Yaha Teno Yadi Karena Prasada Tabe Tora Habe Papa Vimochana Yadi Puna Ache Nahi Kara Acharana. Translation: You have committed an offense at the lotus feet of Srivasa Thakura, the Lord said. First, you must go there and beg for his mercy, and then, if he gives you his blessings, you do not commit such sins again. You will be freed from these reactions. Text 59. Tabe vipra la ila asi Srivasa sharanata tanhara krupaya haila papa vimochana. Translation. Then the Brahmana Gopala Chapala went to Srivasa Thakura and took shelter of his lotus feet, and by Srivasa Thakura's mercy, he was freed from all sinful reactions. Text 60. Arayeka Vipra Aila Kirtana Dekhi Te Dware Kapatha Na Paila Bitare Yaite. Translation. Another Brahmana came to see the Kirtan performance, but the door was closed and he could not enter the hall. Text 67. Firi gela vipra ghare mane dekha pana aradina prabhu ke kahe ganga ya laga pana. Translation. He returned home with an unhappy mind, but on the next day he met Lord Chaitanya on the bank of the Ganges and spoke to him. Text 62. Shapiba tumare muni panchi mano dekha dukha paita chindiya shape prachanda durmukha. Translation. Thus Brahmana was expert in talking harshly and cursing others. Thus he broke his sacred thread and declared, I shall now curse you, for your behavior has greatly aggrieved me. Text 63. Samsara dukkha tomara ha ukka vinasha shapa shuni prabhura chitte ha hila ullasa. Translation. The Brahmana cursed the Lord. You shall be bereft of all material happiness. But the Lord heard this. He felt great jubilation within himself. Text 64. Prabhura Shapa Vartaye Shune Shraddhavan Brahma Shapa Haite Tara Haya Paritrana. Translation. Any faithful person who hears of this Brahmana's cursing Lord Chaitanya is delivered from all Brahmanical curses. Purport. One should know with firm conviction that the Lord, being transcendental, is never subject to any curse or benediction. Only ordinary living entities are subjected to curses and punishment of Yamraja, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is behind such punishment and benedictions. When one understands this fact with faith and love, he personally becomes free from all curses and uttered by Brahmana or with anyone else. This incident is not mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavata. Text 65. Mukunda Dattere Kaila Danda Parasada Kandila Tahara Chitera Saba Avasada. Translation. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Mukunda Datta with punishment and in that way vanquished all his mental depression. Purport: Mukunda Datta was once forbidden to enter the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because of his mixing with the Mayavadi impersonalist. When Lord Chaitanya manifested his Mahaprakasha, he called all the devotees one after another and blessed him, while Mukunda Datta stood outside the door. The devotees informed the Lord that Mukunda Datta was waiting outside, but the Lord replied, I shall not be pleased with Mukunda Datta, for though it explains devotional service among devotees, he then goes to Mayavadis to hear from them the Yoga Vashishta Ramayana, which is full of Mayavada philosophy. For this, I am greatly displeased with him. Hearing the Lord speak in that way, Mukunda Datta, standing outside, was exceedingly glad that the Lord would at some time, be pleased with him, although he was not pleased at that moment. But when the Lord understood that Mukunda Datta was going to give up the association of Mayavadis for good, he was pleased and he at once called to see Mukunda. Thus, he delivered delivered him from the association of the Mayavadis and gave him the association of pure devotees. Text 66. Acharya Gosanire Prabhukare Guru Bhakti Tahate Acharya Bada Haya Dukhamati. Translation. Lord Chaitanya with respected Advaita Acharya as his spiritual master, but Advaita Acharya Prabhu was greatly aggrieved by such behavior. Text 67. Bhangi kari gnana marga karila vyakyana krodha veshe Prabhu tare kaila avagnana. Translation. Thus, he whimsically began to explain the path of philosophical speculation, and the Lord, in his anger, seemingly disrespected him. Text 68. Tabe Acharya Gosanira Ananda Haila Lajjita Haiya Prabhu Prasada Karila. Translation. At that time, Advaita Acharya was greatly pleased. The Lord understood this, and he was somewhat ashamed, but he offered Advaita Acharya his benediction. Purport. Advaita Acharya was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, Ishvara Puri, the spiritual master. Therefore, Ishvara Puri, the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was Advaita Acharya's god brother. In view of this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu treated Advaita Acharya as his spiritual master. But Sri Advaita Acharya did not like this behavior of Lord Chaitanya, for he wanted to be treated as his eternal servant. Advaita Prabhu's aspiration was to be a servant of the Lord, but his spiritual master. He therefore advised a plan to antagonize the Lord. He began to explain the path of philosophical speculation in the midst of some unfortunate Mayavadis. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard about this, he immediately went there and in a very angry mood began to beat Advaita Acharya. At that time, Advaita Acharya, greatly pleased, began to dance, saying, just see how my desire has now been fulfilled. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to meet me honorably for so long, but now he is treating me neglectfully. This is my reward. His affection for me is so great that he wanted to save me from the hands of the Mayavadis. Hearing this statement, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was somewhat ashamed, but he was very pleased with Advaita Acharya. Text 69. Murari Dutta Mukhe Shoni Rama Guna Grama Lalate Likhila Tanda Asada Ramadasa Nama. Translation. Murari Dutta was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. When Lord Chaitanya heard Lord Ramachandra's glories from his mouth, he immediately wrote on his forehead Ramadasa, the eternal servant of Lord Ramachandra. Text 17. Sridharera lauha patre kaila jalapana samasta bhaktere dila ishtavaradhana. Translation. Once Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the house of Sridhara after Kirtana and drank water from his damaged iron pot. Then he bestowed his benediction upon all the devotees according to their desires. Purport. After the mass Nagara Sankirtana in protest against the magistrate Chand Kazi, the Kazi was converted to a devotee. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned with his Sankirtana party to the house of Sridhara and Chand Kazi followed him. All the devotees rested there for some time and drank water from Sridhara's damaged iron pot. The Lord accepted the water because the pot belongs to a devotee. Chand Kazi then returned home. The place where they rested is still situated on the northeastern side of Mayapur, and it is known as Kirtana Vishrama Sthana, the resting place of the Kirtana party. Text 71. Hari Haridasa Thakurera Karila Prasada Acharya Sthane Matara Kandaila Aparadam. After this incident, the Lord blessed Haridasa Thakura and vanquished the offense of his mother at the home of Advaita Acharya. Purport. On the Mahaprakasha day, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Haridasa Thakura and informed him that he was none other than an incarnation of Prahlada Maharaja. When Vishwarupa took sannyasa, Shachimata thought that Advaita Acharya has persuaded him to do so. Therefore, she accused Advaita Acharya of this, which was an offense at his the lotus feet. Later, Lord Chaitanya he induced his mother to take the dust of Advaita Acharya's lotus feet, and thus her Vaishnava Aparada was nullified. Text 72. Bhaktagane Prabhu Nama Mahima Kahila Shuniya Paduya Tahana Artavada Kaila. Translation. Once when the Lord explained the glories of the holy name of the devotees, some ordinary students who heard him fashioned their own interpretation. Text 73. Name stuti vada shuni prabhura hella dukha sabare nishedila ihara na dukhiha mukha. Translation. When a student interpreted the glories of the holy name of a prayer of exaggeration, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, greatly unhappy, immediately warned everyone not to see the student's face henceforward. Purport. Once when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the glories of the transcendental potency of the Lord's holy name, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one unfortunate student said that such glorification of the holy name was an exaggeration in the Shastras to induce people to take to it. In this way, the student interpreted the glories of the holy name. This is called Arthavada, and it is one of the 10 offenses at the lotus feet of the holy name of the Lord. There are many other kinds of offenses, but the offense known as Nama Aparada, an offense at the lotus feet of the holy name, is extremely dangerous. The Lord therefore warned everyone not to see the face of the offender. The Lord immediately took a bath in the Ganges with all his clothes on to teach everyone to avoid such Nama Aparada. The holy name is identical with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no difference between the person, God, and his holy name. This is the absolute portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, one who distinguishes between the Lord and his name is called partially or non-believer and atheistic demon. The glorification of the holy name is the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should never attempt to distinguish between the Lord and his name or interpret the glories of the holy name as mere with exaggerations. Text 74. Sagane Sachele Giya Taila Ganga Snana Bhaktira Mahima Tahana Karela Vyakhyana. Translation. Without even removing his garments, Lord Chaitanya took a bath in the Ganges with his companions. There it explained the glories of devotional service. Text 75. Jnana Karma Yoga Dharme Nahi Krishna Vasa Krishna Vashe Hetu Eka Prema Bhakti Rasa. Translation. By following the paths of speculative philosophical knowledge, fruitive activity, or mystic yoga to control the senses, one cannot satisfy Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Unalloyed devotional love for Krishna is the only cause for Lord's satisfaction. Text 76. Na sadhyayati nam yogo na sankyam dharma uddhava na swadhyaya tapas tyago yatha bhaktir mamurjita. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna said, My dear Uddhava, neither through Ashtanga Yoga, the mystic yoga system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism or with analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through the study of Vedas, nor through austerities, charity, or acceptance of sannyasa, one can satisfy me as much as by developing another devotional service unto me. Purport. Karmis, Jnanis, Yogis, Tapasvis are students of Vedic literature who do not have Krishna consciousness, simply beat around the bush and do not get any final profit because they have no clear knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nor do they have faith in approaching Him by discharging devotional service. Although everywhere such service is repeatedly emphasized, as it is in this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.14.20. The Bhagavad Gita 18.55 also declares Bhaktya mam abhijahanati yavan eschasmi tatvataha. One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by a devotional service. If one wants to understand the Supreme Personality as factually, he must take to the path of devotional service and not waste time in profitless philosophical speculation, fruitive activity, mystic yogic practice, severe austerity and penance. Elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, Lord confirms Klesho Adhikatarastesham Avraktam Chetasam. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. People who are attached to the impersonal feature of the Lord are obliged to take great trouble, yet nevertheless they cannot understand the absolute truth. As explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Shabdyate. Unless one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original source of both Brahman and Paramatma, one is still in darkness about the absolute truth. Shall I stop it, Prabhu? Or continue?
Yes, that's okay, Mataji. If you want to read 5 more minutes, you can read. Otherwise, you can stop.
Okay. I will read it 5 more minutes. Text 77. Murari ke kahe tumi Krishna vasha kaila suniya murari shloka kahite lagila. Translation. Lord Chaitanya then praised Murari Gupta, saying, You have satisfied Lord Krishna. Hearing this, Murari Gupta quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 78. Kvaham daridra papiyam kva Krishna Shri Niketanaha Brahma Bandhu iti smaham bahu dyam parirambitaha. Translation: Since I am not a poor sinful Brahmana Bandhu, not Brahmanically qualified, although born in a Brahmana family, and you, Lord Krishna, are the shelter of the goddess of fortune, it is simply wonderful, my dear Lord Krishna, that you have embraced me with your arms. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.51.16 spoken by Sudama Vipra in the presence of Lord Sri Krishna. This and the previous verse quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam clearly indicate that although Krishna is so great that it is not possible for anyone to satisfy him. He exhibits his greatness by being personally satisfied even with one who is unqualified from so many angles of vision. Sudama Vipra was born in a family of Brahmanas, and he was a learned scholar and a class friend of Krishna's, yet he considered himself unfit to be strictly called a Brahmana. He called himself a Brahmana, Brahma Bandhu, meaning one born in a Brahmana family but not Brahmanically qualified. Because of his great respect for Brahmanas, however, Krishna embraced Sudama Vipra, although he was not a regular Brahmana but a Brahma Bandhu, or a friend of Brahmana family. Murari Gupta could not be called even a Brahma Bandhu because he was born of a Vaidya family, and according to the social structure was therefore considered a Shudra. But Krishna bestowed special mercy upon Murari Gupta because he was a beloved devotee of the Lord, as stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The purport of Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura's elaborate discussion of this subject is that no qualification in this material world can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Yet everything becomes successful simply through the development of devotional service to the Lord. The members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness cannot even call themselves Brahma Bandhus. Therefore, our only means for satisfying Krishna is to pursue the injunctions of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who says, Yare dheka tare kaha Krishna upadesha amara agnyaya Guru Hana Tara Hi Desham. Whomever you meet, instruct him on the teachings of Krishna. In this way, on my order, become a spiritual master and deliver the people of this country. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 7.128. Simply trying to follow the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we speak to the people of the world about Bhagavad Gita as it is. This will make us qualified to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Would like to share anything?
No, Prabhu, I am fine.
One point.
Okay, Krishna will be satisfied with only pure unalloyed devotional service, not with any charity or with accepting sannyasa or by the thoroughly the study of the Vedas. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone would like to read? Next, last one.
If nobody else wants to read, I can read. Prabhu?
Yeah, I can read 10 minutes. You can read 10 minutes, Mataji. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
You want me to
Then,
read or you want to read first?
You can go ahead, Prabhu. I'll do the last 10 minutes.
ఏకదిన ప్రభు సభ భక్త గణాలన సంకీర్తనకారి వైశే శ్రమయుక్త హన. One day the Lord performed Sankirtana with all his devotees, and when they were greatly fatigued, they sat down. Text 80. Eka amra bija prabhu angane ropila tatshane janmila vrikshe badite lagila. The Lord then sowed a mango seed in the yard, and immediately the seed fructified into a tree and began to grow. देखिते वृक्षा हईला फलिता पकीला अनेक फला सबेहि विस्मिता. As people looked on, the tree became fully grown with fruits that fully ripened. Thus everyone was struck with wonder. सता दोही फला प्रभु शीघ्र शीघ्र पदैला प्रकाशालनकारी कृष्ण भोगा लगिला. The Lord immediately picked about 200 fruits, and after washing them, he offered them to Krishna to eat. Rakta pita varna nahi asti valkala eka janera peta pare kahila eka phala. The fruits were all red and yellow, and no seed inside, and no skin outside, and eating one fruit would immediately fill a man's belly. Purport: in India, a mango is considered best when it is red and yellow. It is very, its seed is very small, its skin is very thin, and it is also so palatable that if a person eats one fruit, he will be satisfied. The mango is considered the king of all fruits. Dekhiya santushta haila sachira nandana sabhake kahoyala age kariya bakshana. Seeing the quality of the mangoes, the Lord was greatly satisfied, and thus, after eating first, he fed all other devotees. Ashti valkala nahi amruta rashamaya ekafala kahile rase udara puraya. The fruits had no seeds or skin. They were full of nectarian juice and were so sweet that a man would be fully satisfied by eating only one. यही मता प्रतिदिना फले भरा माशा Vaishnava kahena phala prabhura ullasa. In this way, the fruits grew on the tree every day throughout the 12 months of the year. And the Vaishnavas used to eat them to the Lord's great satisfaction.
So sweet, Prabhu, so sweet.
These are confidential pastimes of the son of Sachi. Other than devotees, no one knows of this incident. Purport: non-devotees cannot believe this incident at the place where the tree grew still exists in Mayapur. It is called Amra Ghatta or Amra Ghata. Amaghatha. यही माता भरमाशा कीर्तन अवसाने Amra Mahotsava Prabhu Kare Dine Dine. In this way, the Lord performed Sankirtana every day. At the end of Sankirtana, there was a mango eating festival every day for 12 months. Purport:
Wow,
on principle,
beautiful.
on principle, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would distribute prasadam at the end of Kirtana performances. Similarly, the members of Krishna consciousness movement must distribute some prasadam to the audience after performing Kirtana. Next 89. Kirtana karite Prabhu Aila Megha Ghana Apana Ichaya Kaila Megha Nivarana. Once, while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was performing Kirtana, clouds assembled in the sky, and the Lord, by his own will, immediately stopped them from pouring rain. Purport: in this connection, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura says that once, when Lord Chaitanya was performing Sankirtana a short way from the village, some clouds appeared overhead. But the supreme will of the Lord, the clouds were asked to disperse, and they did. Because of this incident, that place is still known as Meghera Chara. Since the course of the Ganges has now changed, the village of the name Bela Pukuria, which was formerly situated in a different place called Taranavasha, has now become known as Meghera Chara. The Madhyakanda of Sri Lochanadas Thakur's Chaitanya Mangala also relates that once at the end of the day, when evening clouds assembled overhead and thundered threateningly, all the Vaishnavas were very much afraid. But the Lord took his karatals in his hand and personally began chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, looking up toward the sky as if to direct the demigods in the higher planets. Thus all the assembled clouds dispersed, and as the sky became clear with the moon rising, the Lord began dancing very happily with his jubilant and satisfied devotees. Ekadena Prabhu Srivasare Agnadila Brihad Sahasranama Pada Sunite Mana Haila. One day, the Lord ordered Srivas Thakur to read the Brihad Sahasranama, the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, for he wanted to hear them at that time. Padite Ailastave Nrsimhera Nama Suniya Avishta Haila Prabhu Gauradhama. As he read the 1,000 names of the Lord, in due course of the holy name of Lord Nrsimhadev appeared. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the holy name of Lord Nrsimha, he became fully absorbed in thought. The Chaitanya Mangala Madhya Khanda describes this incident as follows. Srivas Pandita was performing the Shraddha ceremony for his father, and as his customary, he was hearing the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. At that time, Gaurahari, Lord Chaitanya, appeared on the scene, and he also began to hear the 1,000 names of Vishnu with full satisfaction. When he thus heard the holy name of Lord Nrsimha, Lord Chaitanya became absorbed in thought, and he became angry like Narasimha Prabhu, and in his angry mood, his eyes became red, his bodily hair stood on end, and all parts of his body trembled, and he made a thundering sound. All of a sudden, he took up a club, and people became greatly afraid, thinking, "We do not know what kind of offense we have now committed." But then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu adjusted his thoughts and sat down on his seat. नरसिंह आवेशे प्रभु हते गदा लना पाषंडी मारिते यया नगरे dhaiya. In the mood of Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Chaitanya ran through the city streets, club in hand, ready to kill all the atheists. Nrsimha avesha deki maha tejo maya pata chadi bhage loka pana bhada bhaya. Seeing him appearing very fierce in the ecstasy of Lord Nrsimha, people ran from the street and fled here and there, afraid of his anger. Loka bhaya deki prabhura bhaya haila, Srivasa grahite giya gada peleila. Seeing the people so afraid, the Lord came to his external senses and thus returned to the house of Srivas Thakur and threw away the club. Srivase kahena prabhu kariya vishada. Loka bhaya paya mora haya aparada. The Lord became morose and said to Srivas Thakur, "When I adopted the mood of Lord Nrsimhadeva, people were greatly afraid. Therefore, I stopped, since causing fear among people is an offense." Okay, Mataji. I'll stop here. So it was nice how the Lord, performed Sankirtana and had distributed the mango fruits. I mean, they sowed the seed and mango tree came, and then the ripened mangoes came, and they started. I mean, Lord offered to Lord, Super Krishna, and then again he distributed. I mean, they were doing like this for 1 year, right? So it was, very nice festival. So, and then again the other thing, the how when the Lord heard the 1,000 names of Vishnu, when Nrsimhadev came, and he kind of got into that mood, and he was taking the club and running the streets, and people got scared, right? Then he stopped, because people, he's saying that, he's telling Srivas Thakur, causing fear among people is an offense, so I don't want to do that, so he stopped that. Yes, Mataji, you can read.
Hare Krishna. It is very wonderful. That mango is such a, mango tree. Mango tree is such a delicious pastime. And 1 year people continue to eat those mangoes. Very nice.
Yes.
Sri Vasa Belena, ye Belena, ye Tamara Namalaya, Tara Kodi Aparadha Sabahaya Kuchaya. Srivas Thakur replied, "Anyone who takes your holy name vanquishes 10 millions of his offenses immediately. Aparadha nahi kaile logera nistara, ye toma dekhila tara chutila samsara." There was no offense in your appearing as Narasimhadeva. Rather, any man who saw you in that mood was immediately liberated from the bondage of material existence. So wonderful. Yata bali srivasa karila sevana Tushtahana Prabhu Aila Apana Bhavana. After saying this, Srivastava Guru worshipped the Lord, who was then greatly satisfied and returned to his own home. Aryadina Srivasa Bhakta Shiva Guna Gaya Prabhurangane Nache Damaru Bhajaya. On another day, a great devotee of Lord Shiva, chanting of Lord Shiva's qualities, came to Lord Chaitanya's house, where he began dancing in the courtyard and playing his damaru, a musical instrument. Mahesha Veshagaila Sachiranandana Taraskande Chadi Nritya Kaila Bahuchana. Then Lord Chaitanya, adopting the mode of Lord Shiva, got on the man's shoulders, and thus they danced together for a long time. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu adopted the mode of Lord Shiva, for he is Shiva also. According to the philosophy of Ajinta Veda Tattva, Lord Shiva is not different from Lord Vishnu, but still Lord Shiva is not Lord Vishnu. Just as yogurt is nothing but milk, and yet is not milk nevertheless. One cannot get the benefit of milk by drinking yogurt. Similarly, one cannot get salvation by worshipping Lord Shiva. If one wants salvation, one must worship Lord Vishnu. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.4. Mastani sarva bhudani nachaham teshu avastita. Everything is resting on the Lord, for everything is His energy. Yet he is not everywhere. Lord Chaitanya's adopting the mode of Lord Shiva is not extraordinary. But one should not therefore think that by worshipping Lord Shiva, one is worshipping Lord Chaitanya. That would be a mistake. Aradina Yeka Bhikshuka Aila Magite Prabhura Nritya Dekhi Nritya Lagila Karite. On another day, a mendicant came to beg alms from the Lord's house. But when he saw the Lord dancing, he also began to dance. Prabhu sange nritya kare parama ullase, Prabhu tare prema dila prema rase bhase. He danced with the Lord because he was favored by love of Krishna. Thus he flowed in the mellows of love of Godhead. Then Aradine Jyotisha Sarvajna Ekaila Tahara Samanakari Prabhu Prashna Kaila. On another day, an astrologer came who was said to know everything, past, present, and future. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with all honor and put this question before him. Purport. Brahmanas generally used to become astrologers, Ayurvedic physicians, teachers, and priests. Although highly learned and respectable, such Brahmanas went from door to door to distribute their knowledge. A Brahmana would first go to a householder's home to give information about the functions to be performed on a particular tithi or date. But if there were sickness in the family members would consult the Brahmana as a physician, and the Brahmana would give instruction and some medicine. Often, since the Brahmanas were expert in astrology, people would also be greatly inquisitive about their past, present, and future. Although the Brahmana appeared at Lord Chaitanya's house as a beggar, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with great respect because he was a qualified Brahmana who knew the astrological science perfectly. Although Brahmanas would go door to door just like beggars, they were honored as very respectable guests. This was the system in Hindu society 500 years ago during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This system was current even 100 years ago, even 50 or 60 years ago. When we were children, such Brahmanas would visit householders like humble beggars, and people would derive great benefit from the mercy of such Brahmanas. The greatest benefit was that householder could save a great deal of money from being spent on doctor bills because the Brahmanas, aside from explaining the past, present, and future, could ordinarily cure all kinds of diseases simply by giving instructions and some medicine. Thus, no one was bereft of the benefit of a first-class physician, astrologer, and priest. The important members of ISKCON should give careful attention to our Dalla school, where children are being taught Sanskrit and English to become perfect Brahmanas. If they are actually trained as perfect Brahmanas, they can save society from rogues and ruffians. Indeed, people can live happily under the protection of qualified Brahmanas. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita 4.13 gives special stress to the division of society. Chadurvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagasha. Unfortunately, some people are now claiming to be Brahmanas simply by birthright with no qualifications. Therefore, the entire society is in chaos. So, we one more verse maybe. So, ki achilu nami ami purva janme kaha gani gani te lagila sarvatnya prabhu vakya suni. Please tell me who I was in my previous birth. The Lord said, please tell me by your astrological computations. Hearing the words of the Lord, the astrologer immediately began to calculate. Through astrology, one can know past, present, and future. Modern Western astrologers have no knowledge of the past or future, nor can they perfectly say anything about the present. Herein we find, however, that after hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, the astrologer immediately began his calculations. This was not a facade. He actually knew how to ascertain one's past life through astrology. A still existing treatise called the Bhrigu Samhita describes a system by which anyone can immediately get information about what he was in the past and what he is going to be in the future. The Brahmanas who went door to door as beggars had perfect command of such vast knowledge. Thus, the highest knowledge was easily available even to the poorest man in society. The poorest man could inquire from an astrologer about his past, present, and future with no need for business agreements or exorbitant payments. The Brahmana would give him all the benefit of his knowledge without asking remuneration, and the poor man in return would offer a handful of rice or anything he had in his possession to satisfy the Brahmana. In a perfect human society, perfect knowledge in any science, medical, astrological, ecclesiastical, and so on, is available even to the poorest man with no anxiety or payment. In the present day, however, no one can get justice, medical treatment, astrological help, or ecclesiastical enlightenment without money. And since people are generally poor, they are bereft of the benefits of all these great sciences. So we'll stop here, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So wonderful. Everything is so beautiful now, Mahaprabhu's life. And what else? So we had this astrological, and then also Lord Shiva, Avesha. And
Yeah.
then what did we do? Very nice, very nice. So tomorrow, what time we are starting, Prabhu? 9 o'clock.
I think 7, Mataji.
7 o'clock?
Yeah. Right, Prabhu? Vamshidhar Prabhu joined, I guess. Yeah. I remember 7.
Yes, Prabhu, it is 7 till 9
Yeah.
o'clock.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah, please pray and plus we'll be able to sail through 14 hours and then 10 hours on Sunday.
That would be
This
so
is the
amazing.
pinnacle.
That will be a miracle, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, but this is very absorbing, really sweet. Thank you so much.
Observing Mataji.
Very. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
There you go.
Thank you, Mataji. So we read until 104, right?
104.
Yes.
Wow. It's a
104,
long
104.
chapter.
Yeah, yeah.
A long chapter. Like
104 we finished.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
so. Please pray and bless. That will sail through tomorrow at
Yeah.
14 hours, 7 o'clock starting. Okay.
Thank you. Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Hare Krishna.